Nearly 700,000 students got the day off school today. Teachers walked off the job in protest at staffing changes imposed by the state government. The union says the new arrangements will leave disadvantaged schools even worse off, and it's threatening more strike action down the line.
The 24-hour state teachers strike also left others idle, and for parents it was a juggling act.
I support them, but I've still got to go to work and treat my patients.
Across the state, around 2,000 schools were left without teachers, but there were exceptions.
We've just exercised our democratic right here as union members and decided that we wouldn't take strike action at this stage.
Up to 40,000 teachers, though, walked off the job, and many rallied in front of the government's offices.
Either the Director-General and the Minister don't understand the effect of their changes, or they're willfully choosing not to understand.
The changes give principals greater discretion to hire and do away with the old system of transfers, a move which the union says spells disaster for 800 schools in hard-to-staff areas, like in some parts of Sydney's Greater West.
Service transfer gives teachers the confidence to go and work in difficult-to-staff areas, knowing that they can move on to the next stage of their career when the time is right.
It's more than 4 years since state school teachers have gone on strike for a whole day. But union members are now threatening more industrial action if they can't resolve their dispute with the government.
We will win! We will win!
But the government too is defiant.
The issue at stake here is a very important enhancement for public education, and public education can't take a backward step.
The government says it wants talks with the teachers' union tomorrow, but the union says it's yet to be notified. Philippa McDonald, ABC News, Sydney.
Well, yesterday, the New South Wales Ombudsman called for a 2-year moratorium on the use of tasers. Despite that, a growing number of Australian police forces are adding the electric stun guns to their armoury. The taser is promoted as a non-lethal alternative to handguns. But the stun gun is the subject of intense controversy, especially in the United States, where the use has spread to the general public. Critics say tasers have killed at least 300 people and are widely abused by police. North American correspondent Michael Rowland visited the factory in Arizona to file this report.
You are 100% a target because you're not...
This doctor's office in Scottsdale, Arizona is the setting for a sales pitch with a difference.
How do you defend yourself if faced with an attacker and assaulter? That's the biggest question.
For local businesswoman Dana Schaffman, the answer is a taser. She owns at least 4 of the stun guns.
Honestly, I keep 3 in the drawer. I keep 1 on the top of the stand because I've got so many. I don't want to show them all my hardware. I want to be able to pull them out and get 4 at once.
Tasers are being heavily marketed to women across the US. They're designed as the ultimate fashion accessory. But the bright colours and leopard skin pouches mask an extremely powerful and lethal weapon.
Pretend this is a really skinny man, the skinniest man you've ever seen. And then you're going to want to just try and go as close as you can and then go ahead and shoot. Yeah? Okay, just so you know, don't touch the wires because the conducive wires are actually live. So if you grab on the wires, it's like getting that stun gun shock. So now,
a 50,000 volt shock to be precise, but Dana Schaffman says it beats the alternative.
If I'm going to be attacked and I get to choose what my attacker comes at me with, I certainly would absolutely take a taser to the chest or to the legs or to any part of my body versus a knife stabbing or a gunshot to the head.
The growing popularity of tasers for civilian use is the latest source of controversy for the stun guns.
You know, we have taser weapons out there in the general public that are leopard print with an MP3 player so people can use it for music too. And that really lessens the severity of what this weapon can do. It makes it a toy, not something to be taken seriously.
Amnesty International's Dalia Hashad has documented at least 300 deaths she says are attributable to tasers. The safety of the stun guns was dramatically called into question after Canadian Mounties killed a Polish immigrant at Vancouver Airport last year. Human rights groups say tasers are open to abuse.
Police are clearly not adequately trained to use tasers because we're seeing examples in the United States of police doing things like shooting a diabetic woman who was in a coma with a taser weapon to make sure that she wasn't truly faking it when she was slumped over in her car, or shooting an elderly man with advanced Alzheimer's disease with a taser twice because he was swinging his cane.
The company that makes tasers says the stun guns give police another option beyond the more traditional weapons like batons and tear gas.
There is no risk-free product out there. Tasers are not magic bullets. But right now we're as close as you can get, and it's a much safer alternative. And anybody that wants to use a baton against somebody, that's a caveman tool, and I don't think the public wants to go there. Lateline
gained rare access to Taser International's heavily secured Arizona headquarters.
Identification is completed.
More than 400,000 stun guns have been produced here over the last decade for both police and public use. The company's as busy talking up its courtroom record as it is churning out the weapons.
The record that we have is 72-1. That's 72 wins, dismissals, or judgments in favor of Taser International. Now, that's impressive. These are all product liability cases of wrongful death, training injuries, injuries to the suspect. That's an amazing record.
In most of these cases, the company argued the victims were either mentally disturbed or high on drugs. Steve Tuttle says the Taser's electrical charge simply exacerbated a condition the company has come to call excited delirium.
Well, we get criticized for using that word, but actually the medical science has been looking at this for years, and they've called it a number of different things, from cocaine psychosis, excited delirium, and it's not recognized as a billing code by the American Medical Association, so people think it doesn't exist. That's just a billing code. Gunshots aren't recognized as a billing code by the American Medical Association, so we know that gunshots exist. It's just, what does it cause?
There's no debate about excited delirium. It's not an accepted medical term, and quite frankly, it's a little bit irritating that the use of the term excited delirium is put out there as a well-accepted medical diagnosis when it's not. And the primary people pushing this diagnosis shouldn't be the manufacturer of these weapons. They should be scientists and doctors.
Don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me!
Amnesty wants a moratorium on taser use until more research is done on just how dangerous the weapons are.
Despite all the question marks over their use, tasers are still very much legal here in Arizona and in 42 other US states. And their popularity continues to grow. The stun guns are now being used by more than 13,000 law enforcement agencies across the world. And Australia is seen as one of the more promising growth markets.
We could really change the world by protecting lives with this new technology. Right now we're in 40 countries. Australia is a tremendous opportunity for us because it's a Western world that we can actually impact law enforcement.
Tasers are being embraced by Australian police forces, with New South Wales leading the charge. But Bernard Rostka, who looked at whether New York police officers should be equipped with stun guns, has some words of warning.
There is no question that tasers can be abused. We were pretty emphatic that we saw the taser as a standoff weapon, not as a stun gun to try to induce pain as a punishment for uncooperative behavior.
Okay. Back at the Taser sales party, there are no such qualms about pulling the trigger.
It was jolting to me when it hit, but I feel stronger and powerful, more powerful. I'm still not used to it, but I'd love to get one.
The Taser shock value is causing a stir in more ways than one. Michael Rowland, Lateline.
made a name for itself over the years as a hotbed of corrupt conduct, and the latest investigation shows things are only getting worse.
This year was the biggest of all of them.
Charges have been recommended against 33 Railcorp employees who awarded contracts worth $19 million to their own companies, or those belonging to family or friends, like Christian Hansen, who's accused of running a trucking business from this home and netting $319,000, or Renee Hughes, who earned $500,000 by fraudulently changing the value of contracts. The ICAC Commissioner says there are more than just a few bad apples at Railcorp.
I think people in New South Wales have got to view the matter very seriously, as does the Commission.
If Mr Cripps has got recommendations, then I am all ears. This is a rot that has to stop.
He has 40 recommendations that the Transport Minister claims Railcorp is already introducing.
Clear message here that you cannot afford to take your eye off the ball.
But the eye's been off the ball for some time. This investigation into corruption within Railcorp is the 7th in 16 years.
There were 6 separate inquiries into Railcorp for this very sort of thing we're talking about in this inquiry, and nothing happened.
If this government thought corruption was a problem, they would have acted years ago, but clearly they have the stomach for this kind of activity.
The Director of Public Prosecutions will now consider whether charges will be laid against the 33 Railcorp workers. Josh Murphy, 10